Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of This Is My Bourbon Podcast. I'm your host, Perry. With me, as always, is my co-host, Eric, the Whiskey Mutant Smith.
Did you know my money don't jingle jingle? It folds.
It's a
I want to see you wiggle wiggle. For sure. It makes me want to dribble dribble. You know?
You're going to go through the whole thing, aren't you?
I don't.
Not anymore? That's been a fun little trend. I've enjoyed some of those videos.
I just love the whole concept of that, where they just took. He was like a guy that did documentaries, and like they were like, "Did you?"
I don't know the background on it.
So he was being interviewed. This guy's like a
very early tips and bits.
Yeah, he's a
Documentarian?
Is that how you say it?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I
He
think
makes
I might have made that.
documentaries, and he made one. There was one about rap, and the girl goes, "Do you remember any of the artists or the songs you talked about?" And he just said, "Yeah," and he started saying that, and he just said it normal. You know, my money don't jingle jingle, it folds.
Yeah.
But somebody took it and auto-tuned it.
Yeah.
To make it to a song, and then they brought him into the studio and they re-recorded it. And he did a whole thing. Yeah.
It sounds like a deposition. Like it sounds like somebody who has been arrested, and they're trying to get
My money don't jingle jingle, it folds. I want to see it wiggle wiggle for sure. It makes me want to dribble dribble. You know, right in my feet or something like that.
Red wine.
Red wine.
Well, if you're here for the first time, welcome. This is a heck of an introduction for you. If you're listening to the show and you haven't done so yet, please leave us a 5-star rating and review in your podcast app of choice. We normally read the reviews out from those that are on the Apple Podcast app. We've got a new one this week. Yeah. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hello, I'm being very direct towards the camera right now, and it's making me uncomfortable. So I'm going to direct my attention back towards Eric.
There are two cameras.
There are two cameras, which I came to the realization of that would be, a good way for us to like record a podcast
Two people, two cameras.
with video if we had multiple cameras.
One cup.
No. No. No.
Okay, sorry.
That's that brings back.
Oh, this is a bourbon podcast. One Glen. What?
Oh,
Huh?
We're losing people.
Sorry.
Even before I told them about Patreon.
Don't leave.
Please, this is where you can support the show. It's patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast for as little as $1 a month. For as little as $5 a month, you get bonus content. I think that's it, though. Live show. Live show's next week. Live show is next week. The live show is next week.
We're still figuring things out as we speak.
But the thing, but this is a particular thing that we had to do like closer to the time.
Right.
I mean, like we're trying to figure out the food for the actual show.
You like crab rangoon?
I love crab rangoon.
I do too. I think I'm definitely circling that one.
Do enough people like it though?
I don't know. It's our show.
Yeah, you're right. So, if you want to come to the live show, it is next weekend, Memorial Day weekend, the 28th. That Saturday. You can get tickets for it in the description below. We are completely sold out of the all-in package, which I'm super excited about. And the last person to buy a ticket was Jeff Whack, the Whack
Zach
Attack
Morris?
himself. Yes,
Himself.
Zach Morris.
Yeah.
Whack Morris. I got there eventually.
Huh?
Kill John Lennon. Butters, John Lennon instead. Anyway. But yeah, so we've still got plenty of tickets left for the actual show. It's the two of us, Jason from the Mash and Drum, Chad from My Daily Bourbon, and running around with their antics and wireless microphones. It's David and Kira from whiskeychannel.com.
Our group chat's like, hey, turds, your wireless mics are here. And I go, what the hell?
Well, so
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, we're. I don't want to ruin too much of that surprise. I'll tell you maybe off air.
Maybe I just want to be surprised, honestly.
No, I'll tell you. I have no problem telling you. I just don't want the surprise to be ruined
I
for
don't want
everybody
anybody else to be ruined. I'm not the guy that wants anything spoiled. I don't even watch trailers. If you would have made a trailer for our own live show, I wouldn't have watched it. Even if I was in it.
That thought is really, really funny to me. I don't even know what the movie's about.
I don't know.
I was in it.
I was in it. I don't want to be spoiled.
I smoked so much that I didn't even know what was happening. I don't remember. I'm Robin Williams. Oh. Anyway. But yeah, the link for all that's in the description. You can still buy hotel rooms to come and hang with us. Shirts are available for it too. bourbonshop.threadless.com. Let me know if you're going to be coming in early and you would like to ship your shirt to Kentucky as opposed to your home address, because we live in Lexington.
It's true.
And if you're here early, you're going to miss it.
It's true.
So I think that's it for the preamble. My wife is texting me.
Ooh.
Well, it's election day.
Oh.
Unless you find politics
No.
sexy.
That's a good way to just
Kill the mood.
block it. Exactly.
I hope you voted, though. I hope you voted. Lucy, you got to stop texting me. I don't know what to do with my phone. The thing is, I have it set so where if my phone's on Do Not Disturb, I can still get notifications for her because
Right.
she's like somebody that
It's
I should.
her, yeah.
Exactly.
She's important to you.
But like I can't just put my phone on Do Not Disturb while we're doing a podcast so
Yeah.
that it eliminates distraction. I still get distracted because she's still texting me and I still get the notifications and everything. Anyway. I'm sorry. We got a lot of stuff to cover. Things is happening. Eric, we got Flying Blind this week, right?
Yes, close your eyes. Hey, rinse out a cup, a glass, a Glen, whatever you call
cup.
it. I've said lids. I've said cups.
He said clicker.
said clicker. I've not used any good terms.
You know, now that we're also recording the video, I just realized I can't look at my computer to look away
Yeah,
from you.
so
I've
this
got to look at my garden tools.
This is something that neither one of us have had.
Oh.
It's a new product. I don't know if it's limited. It may go away.
Huh. Are you showing the camera as well?
Not yet.
Will you?
I will. It's a screw top, so I gotta.
That adds a level of mystery to anybody who's listening to the audio version.
I mean, I've seen this a couple of times, and I was like, we have to try this.
Okay.
And I want to do just a quick review of it.
Okay. You just want to do like the full nose, palette, finish, and price?
Just a quick one. We
Okay.
don't have to
that's
take too
fine.
much
That's
time.
fine. That's fine.
The color on it is crazy.
Also, if you want to watch the video version, head to youtube.com/This Is My Bourbon Podcast. And that's where you can watch us be
Here you go.
ridiculous idiots. Whoa. No.
What?
Is this a cocktail?
Maybe.
It's a cocktail.
It is a cocktail of some sort. Who's to say?
Is this like a bottled Manhattan?
Kinda.
Is it or is it not? It's cold, so it has to be a cocktail.
Yeah, I got it out of the fridge.
This isn't the On the Rocks Manhattan, is it?
No, I don't know. I would have to look at the brand. I just saw it and just
Okay, sorry. It doesn't have a screw top, so
it does have a screw top.
No. I'm saying anyway, doesn't matter.
Oh,
Jerk.
there it is.
You jerk. It's the Mountain Dew Flamin' Hot, isn't it? You absolute.
Fly blind, baby.
I can't believe I ruined a Glencairn with that.
You didn't ruin it. You can wash it out.
I can't believe I'm nosing this like it's an actual
It
bourbon.
smells like flaming hot, but it does not taste like flaming hot.
No, it's not. It's not flaming hot at all.
It has a little bit on the back end.
I wasn't getting much of it.
I got a little bit.
I can't believe you did that.
I get a little bit on the back end.
It's
It's
okay.
It's
Yeah,
more Mountain Dew than anything.
Yeah, it hits me like right in the back of the throat.
This is very deceiving.
That's
though.
what she said.
Flaming hot taste, caution. There's nothing cautious.
There's
about
nothing
this.
cautious about this at all. This isn't even like. I don't know.
You have a Wild Turkey 101 sitting close by you.
I have rare breed.
Okay. pour a little bit in that. Let's pour a little bit.
We have lost our minds. What are we doing?
My money don't jiggle jiggle. Hit pose. Oh man. What if this is amazing? What if this is it?
I don't know.
What if this is it?
This is it? Like, this is the thing that makes us end the podcast because there's nowhere to go from up? Nowhere. We can't go up from here?
I don't hate this.
I can't believe we're drinking this out of Glencairn's. No, don't make that face at me like it changes our world.
It's good.
Dang it.
I told you, this is good. 1-1. Mountain Dew
Okay.
Flamin' Hot.
I
and
went
Rare Breed.
a little bit heavier with the Flamin' Hot.
Okay.
Mountain Dew.
2-1. This is good.
Every day we get a little bit further and further away from God.
We're farther away from the sun.
We make one more decision. Yeah, we might have to end the podcast now. That's at least it's not code red. I'm fine.
Man, the heat comes out.
It comes out more with the whiskey in it.
Yeah. I like it.
It's I think you broke me.
It's like the 4th or 5th time you've said that on the podcast.
Yeah,
since I started.
that's true.
You broke me.
Sorry. Anyway, Eric, what have you been drinking recently?
I'm going to be drinking this. I'll tell you that.
I'm done. I can't drink anymore. Like I'll finish my little sample in my Glencairn.
This is it.
It's a cocktail of sorts. Shut up. You.
Of sorts. It's Cheetos and Mountain Dew. What kind of cocktail?
Just tell me what you've been drinking. I can't do this.
Man, I picked up a before I went out of town this past weekend for a volleyball tournament. And I picked up a little 375 of Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof. And it was so good. And I just want more Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof. And I paired it with a Insomnia cookie that was chocolate chunk and peanut butter cup. And it was fantastic.
This make me sweat.
There's the heat.
It's not.
Turn on the heat. Heat.
Turn up the heat.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that it's like overly hot. I think my body's just rejecting the fact that I'm drinking Mountain Dew. I haven't had Mountain Dew since I was in like high school.
We're mountain dudes.
Gotta climb that mountain, dude.
Oh, and I also had a...
I honestly was not listening to a single word that you said before that, so just move on.
Fuck.
I'm sorry. I was dealing with the fact that I just shot Mountain Dew and Rare Breed.
You didn't just shoot it. You sipped it and you smelled it.
No, I had about 2 ounces left in this glass.
Yeah, but you took a sip first. And you were like, oh, yeah. That's pretty good. But I had a Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof.
Yes.
375.
I got a couple of those floating around right now.
Yes, I looked at the picture you sent me, and it was a different proof, so...
Oh, really?
Yes.
What's the date?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But it paired so good with a chocolate and peanut butter cookie.
Okay. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
You know what we should try it with is the peanut butter pie.
Oh.
Peanut butter cream pie?
Yeah.
Whatever.
And I had one of those, I saw it sitting over there, the bourbon cherry colas.
Oh, the Bourbanola?
Yeah, those are good.
It's really good. I can only have about one, though.
Well, that's all
Like
you
I
need.
was, yeah, because I was kind of hoping that maybe it would be like a good beach drink or something.
I think if you sipped on it long enough, it would be, because it's like 12%, right?
Oh my gosh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then yeah, it'll last you a long enough time.
Exactly. That's your starter. So yeah, that's what I had.
Do you like, if you're going to the pool or the beach, do you like bourbon with it? Does it bother you that it's like warmer outside. Yeah.
No,
me neither.
I like to have a starter, like a cold starter.
We definitely talked about this when you first came on the
I think
podcast.
so. I like a cold starter, and then I'll switch to just sipping on a little bourbon. And no, I don't put it in ice or any of that stuff. Like, I just have a cold starter, and then I sip on some bourbon.
There you go. I have had quite the adventure with picking up bottles recently. I did something I have never done before. And I did it purely because it was available to me, and I figured, I may as well grab it. I bought a bottle of Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered.
I didn't even know about this one.
Well, because I was gonna blind you with it today, and I just kind of forgot. I don't want to do any more blinds. Not right now.
I've officially been my job title of preparing the blinds has been taken away.
No, I mean you're still a part of it.
Have you opened the Smoke Wagon yet?
Yeah. Do you want some?
Of course. Was that in town?
Yeah. Total Wine. It was sitting on the shelf. There was the small batch and something. It's got that yellow label on it. I think it's a clear bottle. It might be the baby Uncut Unfiltered or whatever it's called. Uncut Unfiltered Junior, whatever.
Man, I can't believe they're already at batch 142. And then there's a 6. Or is that a B?
That's a B.
142B. I have like a batch 30.
Jeez.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of work then,
That's crazy.
if that's the case.
Best Instagram
Oh,
marketing.
he's hilarious. He's so good. I got that. We got sent the new Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
Can't wait to try that. Are we going to do a bonus episode of that? We're going to put it on main.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to do a bonus episode of the Larceny B522 and the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof B522.
We should do a bonus of the Jack Daniels stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no reason for us not to.
Yeah.
That way we're getting more content out for you people too.
Content.
I don't know if it's going to be a video. It might be a video.
Who knows?
Who's to say? Not me. I can't say. I don't know. I know that I've had other stuff, but it's been a really long couple of weeks, and I'm just exhausted. I found a couple of bottles of Knob Creek Cast Strength 12 year.
Crazy.
Just sitting there. And I was like, and I grabbed one. I was like, well, I can't let the other one just go to waste. So I grabbed both of them.
Makes sense.
I regret doing that. Now it's on video. We shouldn't have done video.
You got the idea.
Yeah, I have to edit all this too
Yeah,
now.
that's true.
Yeah, that's great. That's about it for what I've been drinking. You want to go to some news?
Let's do some news.
Let's do a little bit of news. We don't have a lot of news. We got some news. We have to talk about James B. Beam Distilling Company opening a new experience for people. It's called the Homestead Experience. It's going to be in Claremont, it looks like. Am I incorrect with that? I don't know. We're going to find out together. But during this event, it was revealed that Freddie No is going to be the new master distiller at Jim Beam. I have not heard officially one way or another, excuse me, if he is going to be the sole master distiller or if he's going to be a co-master distiller with his father, Fred, now.
Is this like a Eddie and Jimmy type thing?
It kind of seems like that. I feel like that's going to be the way that they go for a little while. But more Jim Beam.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Maybe this gives us the opportunity in a few years to have higher aged Knob Creek again. You
I
know,
would love that. I just love, like I said this on the podcast a few weeks ago, but me and the kids and April, the family, I don't know why I just didn't say the family, but we went to Jim Beam and had dinner, and it's just such a cool place.
I'm going to be coming back up from Franklin and Nashville, Tennessee this weekend, and my goal is to swing by Jim Beam, run into the restaurant, and grab one of those bottles.
I was going to say, go to the restaurant because they have the single barrels in the restaurant.
Do you have to eat there to grab one of the bottles?
I doubt it because they have a little section you can just go up and they have like glasses you can buy and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
But if you have time, food is amazing there too.
I don't have time.
Grab it to go.
I wish. Well,
but either way, I think
I'm also driving the bus back. So, distilledexperiences.com.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Freddie.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Fantastic. A few new releases that we're going to talk about before we get to the TTB labels. Chicken Cock Island Rooster.
Is that the one from Moana?
It's a...
You know that little chicken?
I do know that little chicken.
I love him.
He's hysterical.
So good.
You know those weird little side characters that everybody's like, I can't believe it. Like, between him and Babu Frick.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, no, this is going to be 95 proof, $200. It's a finished rye from Kentucky. And there's going to be a limit of 6,000 bottles. It's a 95.5 rye, finished in Caribbean rum casks for at least 6 months.
Nice.
American Highway Reserve has a new batch coming out. This is called Route 2, 98 proof, $100. About 60,000 bottles from Kentucky and Georgia. You got to try batch 1.
I did.
Right? Or Route 1 or whatever.
Yeah. Total Wine sample.
Yeah. You thought it was pretty okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I'd like to try batch 2.
Yeah. It's 27% 4-year-old Kentucky bourbon. 7% 12-year-old Kentucky bourbon. 66% 8-year-old Georgia bourbon. Georgia. Different mash bills.
Aged on the road, right?
It's got Heaven Hill bourbon in it. The 12-year-old?
Really?
78 corn, 10 rye, 12 malted barley. That's their bourbon mash bill.
Yeah, I'd like to try that.
I'm okay with that.
I wonder if that's the same as batch 1.
I have no idea. Find out. This looks like a new whiskey to me. Could be different. But Brush Creek Railroad Rye Boxcar 1.
Is it aged on a railroad?
Let's find out. Straight rye from Indiana. 104 proof. $130. Oh my gosh. For a non-age stated MGP rye. 3,000 bottles, California, Colorado, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, New York, Texas, and Wyoming. Last year, 80 barrels of Indiana-made rye whiskey were transported, here we go, from the distillery in Lawrenceburg to Chicago, where they were loaded onto a 60-foot Union Pacific boxcar. The barrels traveled more than 1,200 miles to Brush Creek Distillery in Wyoming. The journey was made in the blah, 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 blah. 12 of the barrels, varying in age between 4 and 7 years old, and 2 mash bills were selected for this inaugural. I have never been able to say inaugural right on the first try.
First. Just say first.
First. For this inaugural release of Railroad Rye, referred to as Boxcar 1, Brush Creek intends to offer this expression annually, with subsequent bottlings having a different mash bill proof and historic focus. Okay. Catoctin Creek has another Barrel Select Hot Honey, which we got to find that sample. It's around here somewhere from Jordan Ferguson. Sorry, Jordan. I know it's here
I'll
somewhere.
find it, Jordan.
We'll find it. 82 proof, $45. Available, well, at 350 bottles. It doesn't say where. A couple of TTB labels. Shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't sound too excited. I don't want to be around anymore.
I'm excited. I get excited about new releases, unlike somebody else.
Yellowstone has filed for a toasted barrel bourbon. 100 proof, finished in toasted casks. It's a single barrel as well.
Dang.
I am all about that. Speaking of finished bourbons, the Woodford Reserve Honey Barrel finish. Do you want to take a guess of the proof?
90.
90.4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A blend of Woodford Reserve bourbon whiskey finished in honey barrels in straight Woodford Reserve bourbon whiskey. I think this might be the first product from Woodford that I've been excited about in a long while.
I wonder where they got the honey barrels from. Does it say?
Uh-oh.
No. Somewhere local around here, you think?
I would hope so.
I hope so.
I would hope that it would be local, but that does it for the TTB labels.
I'm glad to see Woodford doing something a little different.
Something different. Yeah, I agree. Eric,
What's up?
hey,
How you doing?
I'm fine. We're out in the middle of nowhere in Nicholasville, Kentucky.
I know. I've never sat at this table before.
You say that like I have.
You brought me here.
I did bring you here. I asked if you... Anyway. We are super happy to sit down with Matt from EJ Curley and Paul as well, who's doing the tour stuff for EJ Curley. This has been kind of a quick turnaround in terms of us figuring out the nature, I guess, of this relationship with you guys, because we tried one of the single barrels that you all had on the show, and I was enamored with it, and Eric was like, I just picked it up because I had no idea what it was going to be like, and now we're just kind of here after a few weeks of like fumbling for lack of a better word, and stumbling into it. But guys, thank you for being here.
Hey, our pleasure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks for allowing us into your beautiful house, by the way, too.
Thanks.
So nice out here.
I'm glad you guys had a happy discovery with the single barrel.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the brand itself, and I especially want to give you the opportunity to talk to the history of EJ Curley and how the product itself came to be, not just in the form of the single barrel or the single barrels that you've had, but the small batch as well, because we haven't even tried the small batch yet.
It was there, and I saw that proof on the single barrel, and I was like, I'm picking up this.
We're proof hounds.
Yeah, so
that's how it goes.
But it's definitely next in line.
Well, good. I've got a bottle of it here, so I'll open it up and we can
Yeah, that'd be great.
we can try
Nice.
it live.
Oh.
All right, sweet.
So yeah, tell us about EJ Curley. Tell us about how you kind of came into this brand in particular.
Sure. I was hunting around the bourbon business and was very interested in finding something that was unique but also true and reflected ideas that I and Paul and others have about how to live. And I think that when we started to dig into EJ Curley's history, and Paul helped uncover a lot of this, actually, it was profound what he was able to do in the 1800s here in Kentucky. And you couldn't find a better example of courage and integrity, which is on the bottle. Because of that, we started to go deeper into the history and discover who was this guy. And we were certainly ready to uncover some awful tidbit or fact, you know.
That's the risk you run.
We were totally waiting to walk around the corner and find this. Yeah. Scary view. But it hasn't happened yet. Knock on wood, you know, maybe it will. But yeah, we've just found like a really cool, true story in the bourbon business. And it was a heritage bourbon distillery that started in 1867. And at one point went out of business. It looked like he declared bankruptcy, as most of them did about 10 years later.
Yeah.
And then relaunched and ran continuously through until Prohibition, and he died 2 years after that. And he had left Kentucky in the early 1900s, as they say.
Yeah. I think this is the question that we always kind of have on our minds. anytime that like a pre-prohibition distillery gets brought up, but does any of that product still exist in any form? Like what he distilled?
Yeah. There are some bottles out there that he distilled. They continued to have his name on.
Wow.
Distilled by EJ Curley.
So cool.
So by his company. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a lot of that you do find that's out there was bottled during Prohibition and distributed by the American Medicinal Spirits Company.
Sure.
So this was one of the stashes of bourbon that had been created that kept being distributed throughout Prohibition.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's the history of the distillery really just goes back to Camp Nelson in general.
Yeah, let's talk about Camp Nelson, because you're a hop, skip, and a jump away from a very historic set of rick houses.
It is, yeah. Yeah, those rick houses represent something interesting that I just discovered recently, which is because they're in existence, and they're full of wild turkey, and they're not affiliated with EJ Curley any longer and haven't been for a long time. But because they're in existence and have a DSP, I think it's DSP 67 is what's on the gate.
I think that's right, yeah.
That makes this the longest that I know of continually running distilling operation.
Wow.
We're not distilling, but distillery operation from just after the Civil War, because it's connected by history. Legally, we don't own them. They're not ours, and so there's a wrinkle in there. But it's curious that it exists, it's connected, and they're still storing. There's probably 160,000 barrels up there, just up the hill from us right now.
Have you gotten the chance just to go and like kind of look at those grounds and everything and just kind of touch on that? Because I just want to like go and see and just be like,
explore over there. Yeah. I'm just like,
what's in this rick house?
I mean, I turn into a kid when like anytime I go to like a distillery or any grounds and there's rick houses, like I turn into a kid. I'm like, I want to start sneaking into this place and like doing stuff. I have not, for the record, but that's what it is. Those like, you see them and you turn into like, you're just curious. You just want to know what's in there. So it was awesome driving up here and just driving past them. I loved it.
There's something to be said too about the curiosity of what can you do when you're building a brand like that as well. And I mean, just the excitement with, despite the fact that there might be something that you're kind of using as like the backbone behind what you're building, you're still, taking on that energy and that excitement, and in a lot of ways that risk in creating something new for a market that is as vast as the bourbon market right now.
It is. It's definitely a crowded space, the crowded shelves, and there's no shortage of celebrity attachment or any sort of, I don't think they're all gimmicks, but a lot of gimmickry to try to move product.
Yeah.
Try to create something that will catch someone's eye. And I feel like Curley is different in the sense that we just really stepped into something, found something that someone had left in the dustbin of history.
Yeah.
And it went beyond. After he left the bourbon business, he started something in New York that commoditized bourbon on Wall Street from the early 1900s. And
wow.
There were bonds on barrels. I mean, you could invest in bourbon, and people didn't do that for a long time until recently. So he was really ahead of his time. And we should go back, though, a little bit to Camp Nelson. Paul can
please
talk about how important that history is.
Paul's been dying to say something.
Yeah, y'all saw glory, right?
No, please tell us about
the first part of Lincoln where Camp Nelson's mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in central Kentucky, and I had never heard about Camp Nelson. It wasn't in our history books. No one ever really talked about it.
Yeah.
And they say, Kentucky became a Confederate state after the war. So like there's this whole, missing. We have a lot of missing history around here as it relates to the Civil War in particular. It's almost like, we learned, Kentucky was neutral, and so that was about the end of it. But so here at Camp Nelson, it's one of the largest recruiting sites for black troops during the Civil War.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the second largest in the country.
But who was, out of curiosity, behind whom? Like, if it was the second in the country, who was the first?
Well, New Orleans.
Actually,
Really?
I think it might have been in Illinois or somewhere. I need to.
Sure. Yeah.
I need to find out for sure. I think it's somewhere up a little bit further north.
Okay.
Regardless, it's fascinating.
But here it is, Kentucky. One of the largest in the nation. And so the people who worked here, including these guys, Dwight Aiken from Connecticut, Theron Hall, who was quartermaster at the camp, and of course EJ Curley, who worked on supply lines as well. All these guys working on bringing in grains, sourcing water.
Yeah.
And these guys are staunch supporters of abolition, and they're working here at the camp. So right around I think it was 1864, a lot of the black soldiers, their families had come with them because they had they were trying to escape slavery.
Right.
But it was policy within the Union to if you don't work for the Union, you can't stay. And so on a really cold day in 1864, they pushed all these people out of the camp. All these women and children, and many of them, like I think 114 people died from exposure, and in different from being pushed out. And this guy Theron Hall was outraged. He wrote letters to newspapers in New York. He was lobbying politicians in Washington because it didn't make any sense. You want to win this war or not? You can't, you can't destroy
the thing you're fighting
the
for.
recruits and the morale, and also the moral obligation that you have to these people. So it didn't make any sense. And basically through his actions, it changed Union policy. And so now, if you were a black soldier, your family was taken care of. And so here at Camp Nelson, along with they created a housing, and I think maybe 500 acres of gardens for them to grow crops and all of these things, and it was really, really beautiful. After the war, these people got nowhere to go again. Right. And as I mentioned before, Kentucky becomes a little antagonistic toward these black soldiers and their families. Yeah. Where are you going to go? Some people didn't leave at all. And these so they basically made homes in the community. Other people who didn't leave, Dwight Aiken, Hall, and EJ Curley, the guy from Tuam, Ireland, right? Yeah. They stick around. They recognize that this place is special. Right on the Kentucky River, the Palisades, cliffs 500 feet up off the water.
Right. And you got to imagine what it looked like here. As the forest was.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Just incredible.
Absolutely.
And this is a high ground. That's why they chose it. 4,000 acres as a camp.
Yeah, strategic. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Despite the fact, though, that the forestry is not completely intact, this is still a beautiful area. I mean, there's something about it just being off of, off the beaten path where you're like, what's going on over there? Yeah. I want to go check all that out. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful area. And as you're discussing the history of the area and Camp Nelson and everything, it starts to get my brain moving and thinking about the visitor experiences that people have. And when they go to a distillery or go to a gift shop and something like that. And there aren't a whole lot of places in Kentucky, at the very least, where you go and you learn about how this brand was built on. And I mean, truth be told, there aren't a whole lot that lean into it, but built off the backs of people who were alive and fighting for the Union during the Civil War, and using that as part of their story, as part of their history. And I just find that to be so interesting, and something that would easily be a great selling point too for a visitor center, and even it becomes like a the way that people treat Civil War forts, or the Lincoln Homestead or whatever, and it's just all tied into like, it's not just the bourbon and it's not just the Civil War history, it's everything all together.
That's right. You should show them the picture, if you have it, of the workforce.
Yeah.
Like an integrated workforce at the distillery.
Really?
So it's like it's like America's potential
Yeah.
and promise is actually alive at this place for this moment in time. Now, I'm not saying it stays this way, or but look at this picture.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing. There are the barrels.
I'm sorry. I'm just kind of in awe with the amount of people that are working there back then, but also, the diversity. That's incredible. Do you mind if I take a picture of it and share it later?
It's okay. I can share it with you. I've got it digital.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. That is fascinating to me. I had to pick my jaw up off the floor a little bit there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I just want to see it. You can't force it with brands, but just to be able to see more of that in the future and see something more unique from distilleries, the way that this story is told. And I think that sitting here and talking with you guys is proof enough that like this story is being well preserved for generations to come and everything. And truth be told, the product itself, at least these single barrels that we've had, this is now the second one that we've tried. This is pretty incredible stuff, man. I mean, this is a really, really great bourbon that we've got in front of us right now.
Thanks to the master blender, Ashley Barnes, who had spent years at Four Roses, before that Buffalo Trace, trained under some masters, is the one who deserves credit for identifying, selecting these single barrels at the right moment. And I'm going to open the small batch so you can try that as well. We probably should have gone the other direction, but
that's all right.
Yeah.
I think we're seasoned enough to where we.
I work my way down.
Yeah.
Down in proof.
Yeah.
Start high and make no compromises.
And it's sort of the calling card of her talent, which is undisputable. Once you'll try it.
I can't wait. There's also something so great to be said about a palate that goes in and finds single barrels that just represent what it is that you're looking for and what you're trying to go for with moving forward. And a big thing that people have not exactly poo-pooed, but it's just kind of like, oh well, there's just another brand that's sourcing product. But at the same time, I mean, you're not just sourcing product and slapping a different label on it and saying, here we go. When you've got something like the small batch, you're actually creating something that people can look at and everything. So,
and it's important.
Ahead, yeah.
I mean, you can reference right up the hill here, Wild Turkey, and look at the history of that company. That was a non-distiller producer for a long time before they started making their own juice. That was how the company was born, and I don't think I wouldn't turn my nose up at Wild Turkey and what they've done and some of the Camp Nelson stuff that they've put out.
Oh yeah,
it's fantastic.
Absolutely. Talk about too the formative ideation of creating like the small batch and the products and everything. Did you guys have something in mind in terms of like what you wanted the final batch to taste like or look like, or like was it a kind of a group effort as well?
It was. I mean, I think just to Ashley's credit, she's great at working with clients. We ended up partnering with her and her partner, Monica Wolf, and it's become something bigger than it was at the beginning, which was understanding that she was a talent we wanted to work with. And she asked us what we liked, and we started to describe what we drink, what we're interested in. And the Four Roses single barrels have always stood out to me. I like a lot of the Buffalo Trace products. And then as I discovered what she had done in her career, it was a perfect alignment.
Yeah.
And so when she put the small batch forward, it was really 4 different proofs. There were 2 that were at 100 and 2 at 95. And one of the thoughts we had was we wanted to have a bottled and bond product. So we were really looking to do that. But there were a couple elements that may have been in question, whether or not it would have been a true bottled and bond. And then the taste was what did it. We tried them all, and the 195 just stood out to me. And I said, this is far and away my favorite from these. But what was incredible was how out of the same small batch, she was able to produce 4 different tasting bourbons. You would never have guessed.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that they were the same thing. But she also admitted that it was her. She was favorable to that 95 as well, and we just quickly made the call and said, well, let's go.
Full steam ahead, for sure. I think too, we were talking about this before we started recording, but one of the things that also helps you guys stand out at the onset of everything is just how daggone beautiful this bottle is.
That's why I picked it up.
Yeah.
It was behind the counter at Ernie's in Lexington. And that's like my go-to place. So I'm always looking at the back. I'm seeing like, oh, what'd they get in today? And I saw that and I was like, what? I was like, can I see that? And I started looking at it. I was like, the logo looks awesome. The bottle, I love that style of bottle, like kind of the taller wine style. I don't know. I'm not good with words when it comes to bottle shapes, whatever. It's a tall bottle. It looks awesome. It's got the kind of the belt looking emblem on the bottom and the curly and cursive, which that reminds me of like an old school, like almost like a sports team looking thing.
Kind of, yeah, for sure.
And that's what's caught my eye. And then I'll say it was priced amazingly compared to other things that are single barrels and 120 proof and all that.
Yeah, and there's so many new brands that are coming out and just pricing their product absurdly, and it's just like hard to even grasp why.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. There's a bit.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of people just treating it like a widget and trying to make money at it.
Yeah, of course.
That's the gimmickry that gets associated with it, and we wanted it to look good and taste good. That's just a simple philosophy, but that was we started there.
2 for 2, right?
Yeah. And the signature on the bottle, the Curley was done by Jason Carney and guided by a fellow named Jeff Ruth. Both very talented creatives, and the Curley was hand drawn. It's not a font, and then he created that font as well with the EJ that looks like a stamp inside the logo. And so it was modeled after the original Curley signature, which was on all the bottles up through the 30s. 15 years after he died, they were still saying distilled by EJ Curley. It had been, and still had his signature on the bottle. And,
Right.
Yeah. And so I think there is some pixie dust in this brand. It was something that was known. He was the first to use bluegrass in commerce. He made bluegrass rye whiskey and bluegrass bourbon, and had a real popular brand as well called Boone's Knoll. And we found advertisements in Sacramento and Manhattan, across the country, and a huge sale of years and years of this production to a group in Chicago for modern day equivalent of about $19 million.
Yeah.
It was just, the guy really
It's a lot of money now.
distributed a ton of bourbon.
Yeah.
He was his prolific bourbon maker.
No kidding. So let's talk about too what you guys have in mind for the future, because I'm sure that there's innovation and thought and excitement for new products on the horizon as well. And I think you guys would be fine just to stick with the small batch and the single barrel, and you'd be all right. moving on, but what's something that you guys want to see from your brand in the future?
Sure, it's a great question, and we sort of let it develop naturally. We try not to get too heavy into the thoughts of R&D. We created these two because this is what we like. We like having a small batch. It's a super premium bourbon, but at a reasonable price. That's always been the goal, was to have a 4 in front of it. And we got close. You see it a lot. It's $50, 52, 54. And that was really when I go out and would buy a bourbon, I love finding Eagle Rare for $30-something dollars, or even other things. When I get up in the 60s or 70s, I really have to think about if I want this, and I've been burned a few times, and I'm like, what a waste. This is great for cleaning windows or something, maybe.
You have the best smelling house in the world, though, if you're cleaning your windows with bourbon.
That's right.
Now I am imagining you, though, putting it in one of those like Walmart spray bottles and going around. And
Totally.
man, that's some innovation right there, I think.
Was there, so you wanted to put the story out, but was there some moment, or you were drinking on something and you were like, I want to put a product out there. Like I could do this better. I could price this better. Or you were just like, I love bourbon and I want to put another good bourbon out there. Was there something that, one of those moments, or kind of a gradual thing, or how did that go?
No, I mean, my moment actually is interesting because I live, I've got a farm over in Germany on the southern border of Switzerland and Germany. Yeah. And so this is my 7th year over there. And then the last couple of years I've been coming here. But what lit the fire was this purity law they have for beer over there. The Reinheitsgebot means you can only make, it's been around since 1516. And water, hops, and barley are beer. Beyond that, it's not beer, or it's not Reinheitsgebot beer. And then when I started looking into bourbon, selfishly more as an investment, just like, can I buy barrels and hold them for a number of years? And I had worked financing animated films mainly out in LA for a long time. And so I had an understanding on how to look at financial modeling and build a business out of something. I've always been entrepreneurial. And so
we gotta ask.
I love anime and I love cartoons and animated films. Like, can you say any of the ones that you worked with?
Yeah, sure. Helped put the financing together for Igor in 2008. It's an
Really?
animated film. Yeah. And a couple more, and then the last one was called Rock Dog, came out in 2017.
I don't think I know Rock Dog.
That's a great,
check it out.
Lionsgate was the distributor on it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
super.
I interrupted your thing. I started thinking of anime and animation, and I'm like, I love that stuff.
We both heard that, and we kind of lit up and realized that. But
that was the moment, though. It was when I was looking at bourbon, I discovered the Bottled in Bond Act, and as I started looking through history, and this has happened a lot on this project, where I learned something, but then some months later, it occurs to me how that relates to what we're doing, and that was that it was the first Consumer Protection Act in America before food, years before food, was bourbon. And you just can't I was looking to do something in America again, work with Americans, and I couldn't have found something that suited me better than the bourbon space.
Yeah.
So
how'd you get Paul into this too?
yeah, exactly.
How did he fool you into being a part of his scheme?
Well, we met in college. We both went to Hampden-Sydney College in Virginia. But most recently, I run a business called Teach Outside, and we work mostly to co-design outdoor classroom spaces.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I walked out here with Matt invited me out to see this project he's working on, and I fell in love with the place first, right? Because it's ridiculous, beautiful, biodiverse, gorgeous, and then of course the story. When I got into the story, and that's my thing, it's connecting people and ecology, and and just like the place, the whole place together. So I was like, how can I help you? And how can I be a part of it?
Yeah.
Become a part of this history, really. And that's one of the things I like about this is EJ Curley and Company.
Yeah.
So I want to be a part of the company,
Absolutely.
One of the one of the troops.
I apologize when you said that you were developing outdoor classroom spaces. I giggled a little bit, but the reason was because I thought of, growing up, and we're always like asking our teachers, can we go have class outside? And like
I
with
never
the
wanted to be inside.
with the outdoor learning spaces, like that completely eliminates that that question that kids would go and ask their teachers about. And I love that though. That's so interesting that you're building specifically places for kids to learn. I mean, not just about the world around them, but how they fit into it as well too. That just sounds awesome. I love that.
I do too.
Matt's coming back around with some fresh glasses for the small batch.
He knows
now
what
as
he's
well.
doing.
Yeah. We don't want to confuse the palate.
Give these guys a little spumoni or something.
Pardon the neck pour.
Oh, it's all right. I remember reading something
Neck pour is the best pour. What?
that I don't know. There's something about that sounds sexual.
Could be, but I mean, it's the best pour because he literally opened it for us and we got the first pour out of this bottle.
But I read something recently where somebody said that a neck pour is not a thing because it's supposed to be made to be consistent throughout the entire bottle. But the thing is, like, it does open up. Like,
It does open up. It kind of changes similar to wine, I think, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Because I've had a glass, especially a single barrel, later on down at the bottom, and they tend to be, or maybe it's because you're savoring the last bit of it, but they tend to be fantastic, right?
The logo looks so good on the Glencairns too.
Yeah.
Man, everything about your all's branding is just spectacular.
Yeah, those guys, they really killed it in terms of design. And it harkens back. Curley had come from Tuam, Ireland. That's where he was born. His family came over during the famine, the potato famine, and landed in Massachusetts. And then he had volunteered for the Massachusetts Cavalry, and that's how he ended up at Camp Nelson. So it was a lot of kismet in this brand. Those guys coming together, being abolitionists, getting stationed at the largest Union stronghold south of the Ohio. A guy named Fee. Was it John Fee? Reverend. Yeah, John Fee.
From Berea.
He was.
The guys who started.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Berea College.
Oh, gotcha.
And he was here pushing early on, and it was just he was a couple years ahead of, and he pretty much got run out on a rail out of Kentucky, and I think he fled to Ohio and then came back as emancipation was about to happen.
Wow.
This small batch is dangerous.
I was just thinking that. It is so infinitely drinkable. I mean, I think you and I had the same reaction that
as soon as I smelled it, I was like, I could just like, I mean, it would be bad. It would be bad. It would not last long, and I would feel very bad the next morning, but I would feel really good
that night
while it was going down.
Yeah. I imagine that when I'm probably going to cut this out, but I imagine that when we're putting the rest of the episode together, we'll probably do a full review of the small batch as well.
Yeah, because I like just enjoying this because this is just, I don't know. I always get like snack cake notes. Like that's my thing.
Yeah.
And this is like a Little Debbie, like a raisin cream pie. Like it's like there's a little bit of raisin, but then there's just this vanilla filling and this like cake that's like just pops up in my head right there. So that's my initial thoughts on this, and I could just crush it.
Yeah. And speaking of the, how a bourbon can evolve, that small batch really does.
Yeah.
You'll really get different things throughout when you go through a bottle of it. But that's what we were looking for. We were looking for something that, going back into the history of this and the integrated workforce, employing the first freemen in Kentucky immediately following the war, Curley's willingness to stand in the face of a place that was really looking back toward the Confederacy more so than stepping forward, and that took years to right itself.
Well, I think it's a good message to be sent to by the bourbon industry. and one that we've certainly talked about recently, and I think it's an ongoing conversation too about inclusivity within bourbon. And despite the fact that, yeah, we are a very accepting, I would say generally a very accepting group of people, there is still a lot of work to be done. And I mean, that's not just with bourbon, that's across the board with, just human relations. But it's just hearing the history of this man in a time where truly his views were not the most popular in this area.
Yeah, he was a boat rocker. He held a Presbyterian revival in the malt room of the distillery at one point in the late 1800s.
I think that should be a special release. The boat rocker.
Boat rocker.
Yeah.
Boat rocker.
I love
Yes.
that. It's like a quarterly release.
Yeah, or it's just like one single barrel. You picked it and you're like, this is the boat rocker right here. Like, so I like that.
You could even send it up and down the Kentucky for a month just to
The showboat.
The showboat. Yeah, Paul, talk about the showboat, man.
Ooh, is there something that we kind of touched on here?
Oh, there's a showboat. It's
Really?
not, and it's not me.
We're finding out about all the secrets. You got a mascot already planned for the the distillery.
So it's Curley, but it's also just this community that sticks around generation after generation. All of them working in the bourbon business, And one of the things that was going on, the distillery becomes this venue for music, which is coming out of the area. There's a lot of just really amazing. The music scene coming out of the Camp Nelson area is just phenomenal. And there's also once a year this showboat that comes down and sort of parks itself on the Kentucky River, and the whole community, black and white, come down through the Palisades. The Palisades actually become seats. People are watching this, and there's live entertainment, musicians. And I'm imagining vaudeville. I don't know how much of this is imagination and how much of it is real. But I was telling Matt here, like, bring back the showboat.
I really would like to see that, especially if it were,
Is that your visitor center?
You've got just a houseboat.
Yeah, it's just on a boat.
On a boat.
On a boat.
That's not been done yet.
We'll see.
Yeah, the tasting room.
I also do really like the idea of a guerrilla style visitor center, but it's at the very back of Camp Nelson, but you're not telling Wild Turkey about it. And you just got a little shack built up or a tent or something. I don't know why that struck me as funny. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, not at all. Yeah, we are. I think that's what we're shooting for, is to have to get the property open to the public as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time for the wheels of government to turn, just to get the approval to have a distillery here in Jessamine County. We're the first since Curley, basically. It became the Kentucky River Distillery following that, but once it closed down in the 60s, there was nothing in this county, and it was dry up until about a year ago.
Yeah.
And so when we went to get the approval for the distillery, we discovered there was no ordinance. So we had to start there. And,
there you go.
And we just got it in February, the approval to be able to do this. And we do have a massive aquifer that comes exclusively to us and a couple of neighbors down there. This incredibly pristine water. And they described that in some of the ads that we found in Sacramento in the late 1800s or 1870s about how the water was of a peculiar nature, came out of a cliffside spring high above the Kentucky River, and I was like, what kind of bullshit marketing is this from the late 1800s?
What are we doing here?
But we'd been around the property for a number of months, and a fellow that lives down there said, have you seen the cistern on the side of the mountain?
Oh, man.
On Boone's Knoll? And I said, no. And Paul and another friend, we went up there and hiked around. We were probably up there 30 minutes or so, and I was like, well, I guess forget it. We're not going to find it. This thing's buried and gone. And then you kind of looked at the hillside, and I was like, wait a minute. It's an anomaly here. What is this? And it's literally this awesome, beautiful limestone domed cistern that they built in the 1800s to capture the water there, and that's what they were talking about. That's where the spring came out at the top of Boone's Knoll. And when they built the highway, changed the road and everything, and destroyed a national landmark, cutting through Boone's Knoll to put in the overpass in, I think it was 71, they determined that whenever there's a well like that that's worth saving, that's a high-producing well, they put in a tunnel into Boone's Knoll and a pump and everything, so it pulls now from the actual aquifer. But once upon a time, that's why Curley built the distillery there, because the water was running right out of the top, and I'm sure it was incredible. It still is.
Limestone water, right?
It's beautiful.
There's something to it.
Yeah,
Something in that
absolutely.
water. I'll tell you.
Are you guys looking towards potentially distilling your own product as well in the future?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd like to build production, but just to be environmentally sound, we're looking at that location more as a park-like atmosphere for tours, tastings, to appreciate the flora and fauna and of this area. And then we'll look up the hill here, off the river, to build production, pretty good production capacity to support the brand. And it's already begun. You know, we were looking at launching this in a couple of states to begin. And once we evaluated it and talked with wholesalers in other states, they advised us, friendly. They were like, you guys should really go out in Kentucky. This is a heritage Kentucky bourbon distillery. And if you own home first, you're going to do much better coming up to New York or Chicago or any of these other places because people will already have heard about it. They're trying to get it and be asking about it. And that's what we want in a selfish way. And so we were looking for, hey, how do we create a product that's worthy of that justifies it and doesn't tie, some famous name to it. If someone gets associated with it, that'd be great. But we don't want that to be the thing that leads the brand. The brand is led by look good, taste good. So.
Well, I think I speak for the both of us when I say we're really excited to see where you guys are going in the future, and I think it's just...
I just gave a thumbs up on a audio podcast, so.
Dude, the number of times that I've done that over the past 4 years, too,
I always do that.
It's ridiculous, but...
Great stuff.
Yeah, we're just so happy to be a part of, getting to see you guys grow, and especially with product as fantastic as this, and it's going to be a lot of fun seeing Curley blow up.
Oh, I'm going to be pairing a lot of snack cakes with both of this, small batch and single barrel.
Get a moon pie in there.
It's no doubt. That single barrel that you poured right there? Oh, yeah.
And people can find you all on Instagram where?
Yeah, EJ Curley Co.
Oh, that reminds me. I was in Disney, and I posted a picture in Germany of me drinking a beer. And we had just become Instagram friends. And he's like, I'm in Germany. And I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, the real Germany. Okay.
Yeah, you're in Disney, Germany.
Yeah, so that just reminded me of that whenever you said that.
Regardless, Matt, Paul, thank you guys so much.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
Is this in anywhere else other than Kentucky right now?
Ooh, good question. I forgot about that.
Yeah, stores?
As far as states, like...
No, just Kentucky
just
right now.
Kentucky.
It's
Okay.
exclusive to Kentucky, and we'll keep it like that for a minute.
Okay.
But it's available, right up outside of Cincinnati, and now we're moving out west as well with it. But just started here in the usual places. And
So
you can
y'all,
find it more.
y'all got to come here if you're listening.
We've
you
had
gotta come
several. We have a
here.
lot of people asking about it that
Yeah.
are in like our surrounding states and stuff. So that I kind of thought we should ask that too. So
Yeah, we'll get into being able to ship it as well when it's legally permissible to do so. Yeah, we're setting all that up. But we really, we see this as it's a marathon. It's not a sprint for us.
Oh,
the
for sure.
brand is something special. And, when you look at reviving something that was real and can be real again, and it's pertinent. Like right now, this is a conversation we should be having. And this is a brand that can display the best of intentions of someone who was an immigrant, came over and led the way by example, quietly led the way, obviously, because no one snatched this up. It laid there for 50 years asleep. And if you look at when it ended in 1919, a lot longer than that, 100 years asleep.
I think it's best that Heaven Hill didn't buy up this particular brand and that you guys actually put your stamp on it. So, with that being said, I think we're gonna have a couple more chats and drinking.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the boat rocker coming out.
Yeah,
sometime.
for sure. For sure. Guys, thank you again.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you.
Eric, we got to review this EJ Curley small batch. We just talked about it.
We did. This is the exact bottle that they gave us. They
It
were
is.
generous enough to just send us home with this.
Can't use that glass that I had.
Why?
Mountain Dew in.
It's not Mountain Dew. It's Mountain Dew Flamin' Hot.
It's Mountain Dew. You want any more of this? Mountain Dew.
If
You
they had
think
a-
I'm sexy?
If they had a zero version of this, I may buy a lot more.
You mean like a sugar free?
Yeah. There's no way I could just keep pounding all those. Like, no way.
So tell us about this EJ Curley small batch. Well, I mean, like the stats on the bottle.
Oh. So, this is the small batch. We've talked about the single barrel before. We did a
And there
we
are-
did a flying blind on that one.
Yeah, and there are a lot of single barrels out there.
Yeah, we've got like several different numbers now. Like,
Yeah.
we're checking the back to see the different ones.
This one that's sitting right next to me is 27.
Yeah.
And you just found, what,
30,
35 or
30
30?
something? Yeah.
30, yeah. I'm so impressed with their single barrels. But their small batch is
Yes.
actually a product crafted for them.
Yeah. Distilled and bottled in Kentucky. It's 47.5%. It's the small batch. And from what we can tell, it's a pretty small batch.
Yeah. We also don't know where this is from.
We don't, and they're very. That's part of their thing. They want to.
Yeah.
They want you to enjoy what's in the bottle instead of worrying about where it's from, and I can respect that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then who was it that helped blend this and who helps pick the single barrels? And she used to work. It's in the interview that we did.
Ashley Barnes.
Yes, that's it.
There we go.
I mean, it's just solid. Does not smell like Mountain Dew.
All I
Flamin'
can
Hot.
smell is Mountain Dew right now.
For real?
Yeah.
I don't mind that though. A nosing note of Mountain Dew.
It's weird. It's very berry forward.
Oh, very.
I mean,
berry.
it's a sweeter flavor profile.
It's almost like a cereal berry. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, yeah, like a Captain Crunch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sugary.
Yep. Very sugary.
But like the more I kind of dig into it, the more I'm starting to go, it's actually like more, traditionally bourbon
Yeah. It's a very good
on the
blend.
nose.
It's seriously like I'm getting like Captain Crunch. Like mixed with like the berries and the normal like the corn cereal. But then you got the berries on it too. It's kind of all blended in together. I could crush this bottle.
Yeah, that's the thing is that this small batch is so approachable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an easy drinker. And I still feel like it could hold up incredibly well in cocktails.
Yeah.
I think that if we're thinking about, man, the way that it would complement an old fashioned. I mean, this is like built to be flexible. And it's a gorgeous bottle.
Yeah, I love the label.
Despite the fact that it is essentially the E.H. Taylor bottle. I mean, they are not dissimilar.
Kentucky Owl.
Kentucky Owl too, yeah. I think that if you take that blank canvas and you find a way to work with it, they did a spectacular job. I could use a little bit more of the finish, just ever so slightly.
Yeah, I think that's the proof on it.
Oh no, I totally agree. But even if you're blending older product into it, you're still going to get more of a finish. Excuse me, if you have it even at a lower proof.
There's a little bit of raisin on the end too. It's like
A little bit, kind of raisin,
like a raisin
bready.
vanilla,
Yeah.
like a cake. Yeah, but very berry up front. Captain Crunch cereal.
It
and
is
then some raisin at
it
the
is
end.
so dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
It's just one of the easiest drinkers in the world. I love this. I really do.
I think it's great.
It's as far as new small batch products go, I think this is one of the best ones
It is.
that we've had over the past few years.
Yep.
The only thing that is kind of to its detriment is that it's Kentucky only right now. So you do have to come to Kentucky to find it. Eventually, they will be able to ship. I think they said that in the interview.
I thought they were working on that.
Yeah. But the good news is, I mean, it's here. We know where it is. We know the guys. We can,
Good price, too.
yeah. I mean, this is $30, $35.
30 to 40, depending on where you're at, I believe.
So, I mean, it's just good.
Yeah.
I think it kind of falls under that same category that the new Green River does for me, where it's just a really, really solid daily drinker.
It is.
Nothing like overly flashy or fancy. It just knows what it's about. It's trying to show that they are worth their weight and they should be respected. So with all that in mind, nose, palate, finish, and price is our review system. Each category is out of 5, and then we total it up for a score out of 20. And if you want to go and do some extra math, multiply that by 5.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be the score out of 100.
This, I was looking at the screenshot I took at Kroger. It was $44. So 40 to 50.
But I feel like we've seen it for like 35.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's go for 35.
Okay.
So nose.
3.5. It smells like
I'm on board with that.
cereal berries.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. It's unique. It's really, really different. It doesn't like I want to, and because Ashley was working with Jim Rutledge at Four Roses, part of me goes, I want it to be colored a little bit as a Four Roses product. But
Yeah.
the thing is, we don't know where this is from.
True.
So it's impossible to really be like, because I mean, there have been times where we've been like, oh, it reminds me of Turkey, it reminds me of Heaven Hill, it reminds me of Four Roses. But I mean, out of the 3 of those, it's been confirmed that it's not Heaven Hill.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, 3.5
Yeah.
for sure. Palate, I'm actually going to go the same. 3.5.
Yeah, I think
So
it's
there's one.
I think it's a solid sipper. I mean, I think the single barrel kind of steps it up a little bit, but as far as a small batch product, 3.5 for me as well, because it's just above a 3 to me is right in the middle,
Yeah.
and 3.5 puts it up a little bit more.
Finish is the only thing, like I said before, that I'm wanting a little bit more on. I'm actually going to give it a 2.
I gave it 2.5.
Yeah. It's just, we drink higher proof.
Yeah.
And I think that's just kind of where we're at mentally with everything. But still, I mean, it's not bad overall.
No.
It's just, that particular aspect of it, I would like more of. Yes, they did give us this bottle for free. No, they did not tell us, so we had to give them a good review.
They were just nice enough to say, "Hey, take this with you."
We will, yeah. And I mean, I think we have always been this way with bottles that have been provided to us for review or reflection or whatever. We will always be honest about it. I mean, I honestly don't know of one time where we've been talking it up, despite the fact that we don't like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something that I would recommend people pick up, especially at $35. The price is in this market is really approachable for introductory whiskeys. I'm gonna give the price of 4 only because there are a couple other products that I would probably pick up beforehand. But that's only based on availability. I don't have any problem with seeing this and going, I'm out of Curly. I need to grab a bottle of Curly.
I would pick this up all day, $35 to $45.
This is absolutely a product that's going to be on my bar cart in my bar on my cabinet.
It's the cat in
The cat's in the shot. Yeah, Berlioz, you're in the shot, buddy. He's okay. He's a go.
But yeah, 13.5 was my score.
Yeah, I think I had 13.
13, yeah.
So I'll take that. That's, as far as we go, that's a recommend for me.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're in Kentucky and you can find it, grab a bottle, even if you can't find it.
I mean, there's a
find
meetup coming up. You can grab it.
Oh, yeah. The meetup, for sure. He's just hanging out over there. He's just having a good time. How about some tips and bits, Eric?
Tips and bits.
What do you have to recommend to these fine listeners?
Let's see.
I'm getting sorry. I'm like burping up the Mountain Dew and it becomes like a tropical drink somehow. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like it in some ways it's refreshing, but other times I'm like, that's flaming hot juice.
You want some more?
No.
Tips and bits. Flaming hot Mountain Dew.
That was beautiful. That was a beautiful transition.
No,
Master of segues here.
I've been getting ready for the Kenobi premiere, so I've been rewatching some Clone Wars and Rebels. I've said this on the podcast before. Thank the Maker podcast is a great Star Wars podcast. It's
Do you think we can get them on?
I wish. They're like members of some of my favorite bands growing up, like Bayside, Yellow Card, Story of the Year, and they do nothing but Star Wars, and they are reviewing the Clone Wars right now.
I do love Yellow Card.
Yeah,
like genuinely, they're one of the few like pop
the lead
punk
singer
bands
is
that,
on it. Yeah.
Really, that's who that is. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you want a good Star Wars podcast, do that. But they are getting ready for Kenobi as well. So they're reviewing Clone Wars. They're reviewing Rebels. And they go through each Rebel season. So if you haven't seen it, they say which episodes you can skip, which ones to go ahead and watch, and all that.
Nice.
So it's really good. Thank the Maker podcast. And then I watched also Star Wars, the gallery for Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Just watching them use that volume studio where they have like the LEDs everywhere, and like it's just amazing. It's amazing to see the stuff they put together for that show. The Rancor they built his head and his shoulders as like a actual prop. And then they would CGI the body.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
And they would put the volume, they would put the background on the volume, and Boba Fett was on that section of it.
I think that in modern times, where Star Wars has been the most successful is when you feel like everything that is on the screen actually exists.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that a good majority of the CGI hasn't worked. But when it really works, you stop feeling like you're watching a 3D created image.
And they had Mark Hamill on set for that.
Which I thought he said he wasn't on set for that.
They show it, and they filmed him doing the scene.
And they did the other guy,
too. And then they would blend them together, and that guy would learn how Mark Hamill would do it, and he would act based on that. I can't
get over the fact that we are in an era where we can have more Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. And you see Mark Hamill, how invested he is in that character, and it's just amazing to see.
It's his life.
Yeah.
I mean, that was...
And he's like talking to Baby Yoda and stuff. Then it cut to like the actor, stunt actor doing it.
I was watching the behind the scenes video that Vanity Fair put up for their Star Wars issue, and Dave Filoni was on set, and he was carrying around Grogu.
Yeah,
and Grogu's moving around and everything, like he's
so
actually real. There's something so fascinating, and like that is another thing as well. If they had animated Grogu, Baby Yoda, it wouldn't have had the same effect.
No.
But it's the fact that it looks like something that you can actually go and...
There's like 2 or 3 people controlling him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The video... I think I might have talked about this on the podcast before, but the video of Grogu like dancing along to who is it's the director of an episode or something.
Robert Rodriguez.
Is it Robert Rodriguez?
Yeah, he's playing the guitar.
Yeah, and Grogu's just sitting there and like bobbing his head back and forth, and at one point he goes. It's just good, man.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
it's great.
Like I enjoy the heck out of that. But yeah, I'm so amped up for Kenobi.
Still haven't watched the trailer.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know what's going to happen in the show. Like I know that of course he's probably going to come face to face with Darth Vader and that, but I don't know. This is one of the few things that I feel like having watched the trailer for.
You still don't really know.
Yeah, I don't really fully know what's going to happen. Not saying that you need to go and watch it or
I'm
anything,
not.
but for me at the very least, the trailer has gotten me more excited. The trailers, excuse me, because as we predicted, we did get a new Kenobi trailer on May the 4th.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. I saw that it was released.
there are like 2 shots in it, 2 or 3 shots that just made me go just get excited, just ready for it, man. I'm you know what, the only unfortunate thing about this meetup is that those episodes, the first 2 episodes, are going to be out the Friday that
I have to get up super early that morning and watch them.
I got to watch them with Lucy, so I'm not going to be able to. It's going to be like the end of the weekend or beginning of the week after that I'm going to be able to watch it.
Maybe I'll wait for you then. I will.
That's the second person in my life that said that.
I'll do it.
Well, I've been watching a lot of Teletubbies. That's what I've.
And wrap up the show.
That's just what I like. I don't really have anything else that I've been watching. I got back into there's a YouTuber. His name's Jordan Fringe. He does a lot of, I mean, really not a lot of, like mostly 90s and early 2000s cartoons from like Nickelodeon, and I sent you a video.
Yeah.
From him.
I need to watch that.
That Doug video. He's really, really good. He's really fascinating. His insight in everything is just very clear. I mean, he doesn't go a long way to be overly critical, or it's just all very like fact of the matter, like this is the way that things were, but then he also is like, this is how, there's a personal side to it as well, where he's like, this is how I felt about the things that were going on at the time and everything, and how it still resonates with me and everything. He's really, really good. He just does very interesting YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Otherwise, man, I don't got much.
Kid stuff, baby.
I'm watching so much Teletubbies. I want to stop. I don't want to watch any more Teletubbies, but it's mostly my fault. Anyway, that does it for this week's episode. Guys, thank you so much for listening and watching the podcast, if that's what you're doing right now. Eric, hi.
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Hi.
Tell people about the things.
The things.
All the things about the podcast.
Main thing, eventbrite.com. This is my bourbon podcast.
Yes.
Live show tickets, $25. You get a sample of the pick we did. You get a free cocktail. We're going to have a little bit of food, and you get to hang out and watch us do a live show. So Eventbrite, check that out. If you want to become a patron of the show, My Bourbon Pod on Patreon, for as little as $1 a month.
My Bourbon Podcast.
Is it My Bourbon Podcast?
Yeah.
It is My Bourbon Podcast.
I should probably change it to My Bourbon Pod.
I feel like because I always get it mixed up with all the socials.
Well, it's not just that. It's consistency
Yeah.
for everybody else.
Anyway, you know the Patreon. We say it all the time. For as little as $1 a month, you can help the show. And at $5, you get all the uncut stuff, all the extra bonus episodes. If you want to join the Facebook group, it's This Is My Bourbon Podcast Facebook group. If you want to send an email to us, if you want to send us a sample, ask us to do a review, ask us to do a pairing, This Is My Bourbon Shop at gmail.com. And you can check out all the merch we got at threadless.com. Bourbonshop.threadless.com. Perry just put out the This is My Bourbon Weekend exclusive shirt for that, so you can order that.
And the good thing about that shirt, too, is that it's not just for this particular weekend.
No, you can use it every weekend.
That's the, well, yes, but I mean, like, for
every weekend,
for every
from
meetup,
now until then.
but every meetup that we have.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can
yeah, I
wear
guess you could just use it for, like,
could wear it
hey,
during the week if you
this
wanted
is my
to.
bourbon weekend. You're just
Yeah.
hanging out on the weekend. You're
You
like,
could wear it on Monday if you wanted to.
I'm just trying to drink bourbon on the
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
You're like,
It's not
Okay,
even
bro.
the weekend. It's Wednesday. Well, that doesn't matter. If you want some Whiskey Mutant merch, it's Whiskey Mutant at Shopify.com. If you want to leave a barrel rings, that's the voicemail segment we have where you leave a voicemail and we respond to you. 859-428-8253. Then on all social media at My Bourbon Pod or at Whiskey Mutant. Check us out there. And if you want to just tell people about us, just tell people about us.
just tell them. Just let them know.
And then leave a review on Spotify or Apple. And Perry said we have one.
We got a new review this week. It's from Kilgoth.
Kilgoth.
Is that Whiskey Morgue?
I don't think so. I think he would be Whiskey Morgue. This is Kilgoth.
This is Kilgoth, though.
He killed Goth.
He destroyed it.
Yeah. There's a
I
reason
remember-
there's no
I remember that
Goth
news
kids
story.
dancing under bridges right now.
I remember that news story.
Yeah. I think I saw him in Total Wine the other day, too.
It was pretty heartbreaking.
Getting some Bush Light
There's a lot of
and some Wild Turkey 101.
There's a lot of Bush Light out there right
Yeah.
now. Well, Kilgoth says, I was a longtime listener before I decided to rate. I don't think I've ever actually rated a podcast before. I really like these guys, and they have a way of making you feel included in their big bourbon nerd family. Oh, sorry, this was also called Fun Bourbon Nerds. That was the title for this
Okay.
review.
Fun bourbon nerds.
It's not just whiskey talk either. You get to hear about new shows / movies, snacks, and even stuff to do with the family. Plus, if you're starting your venture into the whiskey world, you can trust their judgment and tasting notes on different offerings to lead you to tasty bottles and away from wastes of money.
That's pretty much this whole episode that we just did.
That's exactly what we just did. So that's like the encapsulation of everything that we do.
Kilgoth,
At
keep
the
doing your
Smoke
thing.
podcast. And also keep listening to the show. Keep telling your friends about it. We'll be back next week. I don't know what next week is going to be right now or what it's going to look like. But next week is also the live show and the meetup. And we've got so much stuff.
Shit to do.
We got so much stuff to do. Regardless, thank you guys so much for listening as always and watching now too. We'll see you next week. Until then, I'm Perry.
I'm Eric.
And this is my Bourbon Podcast.